Hi, I'm Krystian Seibert, a Policy Advisor with Philanthropy Australia, and welcome to this Advocacy Update. Joining me is the wonderful Sarah Wickham, our new Policy and Research Manager. So Sarah will be leading our policy advocacy and government engagement work going forward. So welcome, Sarah.
Thanks, Krystian. I'm delighted to be here at Philanthropy Australia. I've come from 3 years at Equity Trustees, another member of Philanthropy Australia, doing some great advisory work to our philanthropists on giving and doing some grant making also in the sector. I've also come previously with some experience in policy development and the higher education sector. So very delighted to be here and continue working with you, which is great, and really looking forward to meeting some of our members over the coming months.
No, it's great to have you here, Sarah. So the purpose of this update, apart from introducing Sarah, is to inform members about two things that we've been focusing on at Philanthropy Australia. Firstly, there is the so-called Common Reporting Standards, and to update you on that, I'll hand over to Sarah.
In Philanthropy Weekly, we announced a webinar we'll be hosting on the morning of Thursday the 28th of June. This is joint run with the ATO and experts as well from Grant Thornton to discuss what the new Common Reporting Standard is. This is obviously an ATO initiative, which is a single global standard for the annual collection, reporting and exchange of financial account information on foreign tax residents. So obviously it's a bit complicated, hence why we're breaking it down in a webinar for our members. These changes also actually include self-assessments that actually need to be completed by all trusts and foundations in Australia by the 31st of July in 2018. So for grant makers, this means it's actually another step to the due diligence process. It's no longer just enough to check the DGR status. There's also an element of self-compliance that your beneficiaries will need to do before you make that donation. So we'll make sure, obviously, we let you know what those details are. We're also going to provide further information after the webinar with some template documents that our members can use to send to those not-for-profits before they make donations. So please sign up and we'll look forward to talking to you then.
Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, that webinar is essential viewing, so I do encourage you to register. Secondly, we wanted to update you in relation to some developments regarding the Commonwealth Electoral Act. The Commonwealth Electoral Act regulates the conduct of third parties in the electoral process, and it can include covering charities which undertake public advocacy on policy issues. As you may know, the Australian government is proposing some concerning amendments to the Electoral Act which will impact upon charities and also those who fund them, including our members. Philanthropy Australia, together with other stakeholders, has been actively advocating for that bill to be set aside or, at a minimum, substantially amended. More detail about that is available in our last advocacy update from the 18th of April, because not a lot has actually changed since then. However, at a member roundtable earlier this year, there was discussion about what the existing requirements are in the Electoral Act and whether they impact upon philanthropy. So there are some existing requirements, and then there are some new requirements which are the subject of these amendments. So in response to that, Philanthropy Australia undertook to obtain some legal advice to provide some more clarity around the existing requirements. The advice was commissioned together with our friends at the Australian Environmental Grant Makers Network and is now available. There's a link to it below this update. The legal advice says two main things. Firstly, trusts and foundations don't themselves have any reporting requirements under the Electoral Act if they fund charities to undertake public advocacy on policy issues. However, the charities themselves may have reporting requirements, and that may include listing the details of donors who fund those activities. Secondly, the kinds of activities which charities need to report on are very uncertain and very unclear, making it hard for them to know if they're actually complying properly. So that's particularly problematic, and so the advice recommends that the Electoral Act actually be amended to provide more certainty and clarity. So in addition to sharing this advice with our members, we're also writing to the government and to the opposition to share the advice with them and express our concerns. It's our hope that as part of considering the other amendments to the Electoral Act that are currently in play, they can also consider the issues raised by this advice and hopefully make amendments in relation to that. So it is somewhat complicated. So thanks for viewing this update, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to get in touch with Sarah, who will actually be hosting the next advocacy update, but I do hope to make an appearance now and then as well. And you can contact Sarah on the Philanthropy Australia number 03 9662 9299. So thanks.
Thank you.
See you next time.